Welcome to the deep dive. Today, you've brought us a really fascinating chapter from Hermann Hesse's Siddhartha, Chapter 5, Kamala. This feels like a real turning point, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. A huge one.
Siddhartha is leaving behind that, strict world of the samanas and stepping into a completely new realm of sensory experience. You've shared these insightful passages, and our mission really is to dig into this pivotal shift, to understand what these initial encounters in the world mean for his journey. We're diving in right after his experience by the river, where he's decided to forge his own path away from Govinda and, well, the ascetic life.
Exactly. And this chapter, it marks Siddhartha's conscious decision to explore a completely different way of understanding. He spent years, trying to transcend the self through denial. But that encounter with the river seems to have sparked a fundamental question.
Right.
Can the self truly be known just through, like, intellectual suppression? Or does it actually require engagement with the world?
Okay, let's start with the key quote here. Now, he had to experience his self, but never had he really found this self because he had wanted to capture it in the net of thought. What strikes me is his realization about the limits of pure intellect.
Yeah.
He talks about the random self of the senses. What's he getting at there? And why is trying to grasp the true self through thought alone seemingly, well, futile for him now?
What's so fascinating here is Siddhartha's dawning awareness that the self isn't some static thing you can just pin down and analyze purely through rational thought.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like he's realizing that the self is expressed through its interaction with the world,
Mm-hmm.
through our senses, our experiences.
Oh.
His past efforts were all about abstract contemplation, trying to think his way to enlightenment. Now he's questioning whether that whole approach actually maybe distanced him from the very essence he was looking for. This random self of the senses. You could see it as the self in its raw, unfiltered engagement with life.
So it's not just about rejecting the physical world, which he'd been doing as a samana, right? But also recognizing that his intellectual pursuits, while, yeah, valuable in their own way, weren't giving him the whole picture.
Exactly.
He even notes that both thoughts and senses have these secret voices of the innermost truth and shouldn't be dismissed. That suggests a whole new way of perceiving the path to understanding.
Precisely. It's a move towards a more integrated understanding. He's not throwing away his past learning, not at all, but he's reframing its role. It's like he's realizing that wisdom isn't only an abstract thought, but can also be found by truly listening to what our senses tell us, our intuition, gut feelings, that deeper connection that isn't always purely rational.
Yeah.
Maybe these secret voices are those, nudges and insights we get from just experiencing the world directly.
This leads us right to his dream by the river. It's quite a vivid image. Govinda, still in his ascetic robes, asking, "Why have you forsaken me?" And then transforming into a woman offering her breast, from which Siddhartha drinks milk that tastes of everything, man, woman, nature, desire. It's such a sensory experience, even just reading the description. What stands out to you about this dream, especially now?
Oh, that dream is incredibly potent. Govinda, in his ascetic form, he clearly represents Siddhartha's former life, right?
Yeah.
That path of renunciation they shared.
Totally.
His question speaks to the breaking of that bond, the divergence of their spiritual journeys, but the transformation into a woman and the nursing, that's where the symbolic weight really hits.
Yeah.
The milk, with its explosion of flavors, feels like a metaphor for the fullness of life, the sensory richness Siddhartha has been denying himself. It suggests an embrace of the feminine principle, nurturing, receptive, and emerging of what he might have previously seen as opposing forces, the spiritual and the sensual. The intoxicating effect just highlights the powerful pull of this new direction. You could even see Govinda's transformation as representing the anima, the Jungian idea of the feminine aspect within the male psyche, suggesting some inner integration is happening.
It's like he's literally taking in the world the very experiences he'd been trying to escape.
Wow. Wow.
Following this, he has that encounter with the ferryman, whom he sees as one of the childlike people.
Yes.
There's this sense of an inherent wisdom in the ferryman, particularly in his statement about everything returning, including Siddhartha and his learning directly from the river. How does this encounter shape Siddhartha's evolving view?
Well, the ferryman embodies a wisdom that comes not from books or, doctrines, but from a deep, almost an intuitive connection with the natural world. His childlike quality suggests an openness, a simplicity of perception that Siddhartha is now starting to really value.
Yeah.
When he says everything is coming back, it hints at this cyclical understanding of life, a theme that becomes super central later on, especially with the river itself. The ferryman's knowledge, just gained from watching the river flow and change, it reinforces Siddhartha's growing sense that profound truths aren't just in abstract ideas, but in the dynamic interconnectedness of existence.
And we see this shift in Siddhartha's own perception, too. The world around him, which maybe before he would have just dismissed, now looks beautiful when viewed thus simply, thus childlike, thus open to what is near, thus without distrust. He starts noticing the sun, the shade, the taste of food, even the animals mating. It's like his senses are just waking up after being dormant for so long.
Exactly. He's shedding that layer of intellectual detachment and engaging with the world on a purely sensory level. He feels integrated with it and part of it, experiencing things much more directly, immediately. This is such a radical departure from his earlier view of the physical world as, an illusion to be overcome. Now it seems to be a source of learning and wonder in itself.
However, this embrace of sensory experience seems to have its limits, at least initially. We see this in the encounter with the young woman by the stream. He feels that initial arousal, that pull, but then that inner voice says no, and his perception of her shifts quite dramatically. He sees her as a damp glance of a female animal in heat and politely leaves. What do you make of this hesitation, and why do you think he later just skips over this encounter when telling Kamala his story?
That encounter really highlights the complexity of Siddhartha's transition. He's opening himself to sensory experience, yes, but he hasn't fully integrated his desires yet. That inner no suggests his past conditioning, those years of asceticism, still have a really powerful hold.
Okay.
His subsequent, somewhat judgmental view of the woman might just be a way for him to rationalize withdrawing, to maintain a sense of control over these new urges he's feeling.
Right.
As for why he doesn't mention it to Kamala, well, maybe he just sees it as insignificant compared to the profound impact Kamala has on him almost immediately after. Or perhaps, on a deeper level, he recognizes that his reaction by the stream wasn't a true embrace of experience, but still kind of colored by his old way of thinking, like a recoil, rather than genuine engagement. Kamala represented a conscious choice to explore love and connection differently.
That makes a lot of sense, that it wasn't really a truly open experience for him. Which leads us to that incredibly telling exchange with Kamala. She asks what he can do to earn money. And he gives this almost Zen-like list. I can think, I can wait, I can fast.
Yeah.
I mean, in the context of trying to get a job in a bustling city, those seem like pretty unconventional skills.
They really do. But these three abilities are presented as the absolute core of Siddhartha's being, the fundamental tools that will ultimately lead to his success, even in this new world. Thinking represents his capacity for focused intention, for understanding the underlying principles of things. Waiting speaks to his patience, his ability to observe and let things unfold without forcing them, kind of echoing the lesson of the river, right?
Yeah.
And fasting signifies his self-discipline, his ability to detach from immediate desires, and just maintain focus.
He even expands on this later, saying everyone can perform magic, everyone can reach his goals if he is able to think, if he is able to wait, if he is able to fast. And he frames this magic not as something supernatural, but as the natural consequence of focused intention and these core abilities. It's almost like aligning yourself with a natural force rather than trying to conjure something out of thin air.
Exactly. Think of his later analogy, the rock thrown into water. If you throw it with focused intention and without unnecessary resistance, it'll just naturally sink to the bottom. Siddhartha's philosophy here emphasizes inner stillness and clarity. By cultivating these core skills, he believes you can align yourself with the natural flow of things, allowing goals to be achieved with a sense of almost inevitability, rather than through just brute force. It really resonates with modern ideas of mindfulness and strategic patience.
Now let's delve into his first impression of Kamala and the city. The description of Kamala in her sedan chair is incredibly detailed. Her hair, her face, her mouth described so vividly, her eyes, her jewelry. He's clearly struck by her beauty and her worldly sophistication.
Definitely.
But his initial Samana appearance creates this barrier. This leads to a really significant act of transformation, befriending the barber's assistant, getting shaved, his hair cut and oiled. It's a very deliberate shedding of his former identity, isn't it?
Oh, it's pivotal. Siddhartha is making a conscious choice to adapt to the world he wants to enter. The detailed description of Kamala highlights everything. His ascetic life rejected beauty, sensuality, worldly adornment.
Right.
His initial hesitation just underscores his awareness of the huge gap between his past and his present goals. The transformation of the barbers is totally symbolic, washing away his old identity, a necessary step for him to even begin to engage with Kamala and the world she represents. He has a clear goal: learn about love from her, and he recognizes his current appearance is just an obstacle.
And he's remarkably direct with her from their very first meeting, just stating his desire for her to be his friend and teacher of love. Kamala's initial reaction is, understandably, amusement. She points out the usual clientele she gets: wealthy, well-dressed men.
Yeah, understandably.
But Siddhartha is quick to show he's already learning, having changed his appearance. Then come Kamala's conditions: fine clothes, shoes, money, gifts for her. And with this newfound confidence, Siddhartha just asserts that he will meet these conditions.
Kamala's amusement and her setting out these requirements, it acts as kind of test. She wants to gauge how serious Siddhartha really is. His confident response, drawing on that earlier assertion of his core abilities, shows his resolve. He's not intimidated by these material demands at all. He just sees them as practical steps towards achieving his larger aim, understanding love and the ways of the world.
This leads to their interesting exchange about the nature of love and desire. Kamala uses that really vivid analogy of trying to steal a kiss against her will, explaining that true love and affection can't be forced, but must be begged, bought, received as a gift, or found. Siddhartha seems to get this immediately.
Kamala is imparting a crucial piece of worldly wisdom there. She's teaching Siddhartha that genuine connection, genuine pleasure, it involves mutual consent and exchange. It's not simply about taking. It requires understanding the dynamics of human interaction and desire. Siddhartha's quick grasp suggests an intellectual openness to these ideas, even if he lacks a direct experience yet.
Then comes the poem, offered as a kind of payment for a kiss. It's a sweet little poem, focusing on the respect and admiration he feels for Kamala, finding her more captivating than offerings to the gods.
It really is lovely.
And she, clearly charmed, grants him the kiss, which he experiences with this sense of childlike astonishment at the cornucopia of knowledge and things worth learning it reveals. It's a small act, but it has a huge impact on Siddhartha.
Absolutely. The poem itself is a demonstration of Siddhartha's adaptability, his willingness to engage with Kamala on her terms. And the kiss. It's more than just physical. It's a symbolic opening to the whole world of sensuality and human connection. His astonishment highlights the vastness of the experiences he's previously shut himself off from. It's really the beginning of a new kind of learning for him, one that involves not just the mind, but the body and emotions too.
Following this, Kamala takes a more active role in his introduction to this new world. She advises him to ask for material compensation for his abilities and even provides him with some initial clothing. But Siddhartha, in this moment of burgeoning pride, refuses an offered rice cake, sensing that begging just doesn't fit anymore.
Yes. That moment really underscores Siddhartha's inherent dignity and his rapid integration into this new environment. While he accepts Kamala's practical help, he also recognizes a shift within himself. He's no longer just a wandering ascetic, he's someone who intends to participate actively and earn his way. Refusing the rice cake is a small but really significant assertion of his new sense of self-worth.
And Kamala continues to guide him, facilitating an introduction to Kamaswami, the richest merchant. She gives him specific advice on how to present himself smart, polite, but not too modest, and expresses her hope for him to become Kamaswami's equal. She even provides him with food and playfully wonders if his good fortune is due to some kind of spell.
Kamala's actions really show her genuine belief in Siddhartha's potential. She sees something unique in him and actively helps him navigate the complexities of this new social and economic landscape. Her advice highlights the importance of social skills in this world, and her question about a spell. Well, it touches on the almost effortless way Siddhartha seems to be attracting opportunities, which ties right back to his philosophy of thinking, waiting, and fasting.
Yeah, it all connects. Finally, we have Siddhartha's explanation of his success, using that powerful image of the rock sinking in water. He reiterates his core principles: focused intention, patience, self-discipline, suggesting these allow his goals to draw him without internal resistance. He calls this what fools might see as magic, but insists it's accessible to anyone who cultivates these abilities. Kamala is clearly impressed by his presence, his words.
Siddhartha's analogy beautifully encapsulates his whole approach to life, doesn't it? It's about aligning his inner state with his desired outcome, removing internal conflict to allow for a natural progression towards his goals. His demystification of magic and his insistence on the power of these core skills reinforces his belief in personal agency. Kamala's positive reaction just underscores the impact of his philosophy and further solidifies their connection, really setting the stage for his journey into the world of commerce. And his parting wish, it acknowledges Kamala's role as a really significant influence in this new chapter.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we've witnessed a pretty profound transformation in Siddhartha. He's moved from the abstract realm of thought to embracing the richness of sensory experience, encountered love and desire, and taken his first determined steps into the world of commerce, all while drawing on these fundamental inner resources. His ability to think, wait, and fast appears to be the quiet force driving his seemingly effortless progress. This leads to a final thought for you, for our listeners. Considering Siddhartha's journey thus far and his reliance on inner strength rather than, external doctrines, what do you make of his apparent ease in achieving worldly success? Does this resonate with or challenge your own understanding of how we attain our goals?
That's a great question.
It's a compelling question to consider as we anticipate how these early experiences in the city might shape Siddhartha's future path. Thank you for bringing these insightful passages to our attention today.
My pleasure. Always fascinating to discuss.
We look forward to our next exploration together.